Okay, we are live on YouTube. I'm not sure we're going to need to continue to do this because I end up editing them anyways and re-uploading them. So, because it's really hard for live things because right now it's live and I'm talking about being live. Anyways, we're recording. We're on in 3, 2, 1. Action. Welcome, my friends, to episode number 5 of Pathway to Peace podcast, where we talk about all things inner peace and retransforming ourselves to create outer peace. I'm here with Matt Perlstein. Thank you again. My name is Joshua Marcos Munoz. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about grief and loss, and more specifically, how to, one, on a personal level, how to process that, how to deal with it, how to move into it, through it, and express it, and also the various ways that different cultures around the world deal with grief and loss of family members, loss of a pet, loss of a way of living, a standard. So many ways that we are processing things uh, that were that were lost due to just circumstance, just due to the nature of life, right? And so we're going to be talking about grief and how to utilize emotional intelligence in order to sublimate and express every one of those emotions that come up when dealing with life. Right, Matt? I hope you're able to hear us. Your internet is a little shaky. All right.
Yep, same as you. There's some things we can control and some things we can't, right?
Well,
So,
we just
hi
move
everyone.
ahead.
Yeah, kind of a negative subject, if you will. Grief is not a happy thing, but we got to, if we can deal with our negatives, we can have a lot more positives. And so that's one of our big points here is that we got to learn how to deal with our negative emotions so that we can have more positives. And grief is one of them. And grief will knock you out, and it messes with people big time, sometimes for years and years and years and years. And so if you can not have that happen, that's pretty cool. Or you can have it happen and be okay with it. That's cool too. You can do some
Yeah.
things with it, but you got to know what's happening first. So that's what we're talking about today.
Excellent. Great. Yes, I think it's inevitable that we're all going to deal with grief and loss unless we're the one who leaves the body, then more quickly than others, but
Yeah,
that's another issue altogether. But
it is
more or less, the reality is that we all have family, we all have friends, we all have pets, and so
pets. Yes.
the nature
Yep.
of this, right, of this existence is that it's ephemeral and that we are just like journeying through a sojourn through this realm, and it's really not, in one sense, depending on your perspective, this is really not our permanent home. And depending on the culture, depending on the metaphysics, the spiritual, cultural, religious framework that one is following, that will inform what and if there's an afterlife, right? But that is
Yeah.
not.
May I?
Go for
Can
it.
I jump in here?
Yep.
Something you just said was everybody feels grief. I'm not sure about that. I wonder. That brought up my thought is that
Good.
I wonder.
Good.
Some people grief kind of assumes that you care, and some people don't care about anything enough to be
Good point.
grieving that it's lost. First, you got to love the thing that you lost to have the grief.
Hmm.
So, so some
Interesting.
people are so shut down that they don't feel that at all. And
Um,
yes, that was one of the big ones, I think. Go ahead. What do you think?
interesting. I
Yeah.
think you're right. You're right. Not everyone experiences grief in the classical
Yeah.
sense. Although I think all of us will experience a loss, right? So that's a clear distinction.
It's a- uh, mhm.
Definitely very interesting because there are there are people out there who are very disconnected from their emotions, and
Lots of
almost
people.
almost to the point where it's I mean, I've done my study of psychopathy, and there's a certain percentage of people whom, um,
Mhm.
whether you can believe it or not, they don't have the capacity for empath, right? To feel other people's feelings. And so, in one sense, they're almost kind of just role playing according to their own conditioning, and just because other people are crying when somebody dies, then okay, it's appropriate to do the water shedding thing, you know. But there are some people who had just a very difficult time to actually feel not just their own emotions, but what other people are feeling, right? And so that's a that's an whole nother conversation of let's say psychopathy, and there's this term starts with an L. There are certain it's almost like a dis-ease that there are people who don't are just disconnected from their feeling, and they literally have uh no way of expressing what they're feeling. And so I can't imagine what that would be like, but there's a
Yeah,
psychological term for it. So anyways, let's go let's
emotionally.
move. Yeah, emotionally just unavailable. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what these kind of people, how do they actually move in the world? But anyway, that's a another subject matter. And so moving forward, I want you to start it off, Matt, with some tips, some insights, some tools that one can help themselves in calibrating. And let's say if one of their parents leaves their body, you know, if they die, and they're trying to process what is kind of the subconscious and conscious kind of attributions that somebody might be going through when losing a loved one.
Oh, okay. Well, same as we've mentioned a couple times with the steps to
Mhm.
positive mental health is awareness first that you
Yeah.
are grieving, that is what you're feeling, because a lot of people, it kind of goes underneath some other stuff and they not really realize that this is what is happening in them, in their body,
Mm.
that they're grieving, that's what it's called, that that's what's happening because it just kind of you're down or your stuff messes with you or you a lot of times grief comes in waves, they say, and I've had experience too. Is that you forget and then you remember and then you go, oh, or something reminds you or triggers you of the loss and you go, oh, that's right. And then boom, here it comes again. And then after a while it settles down, you forget again. Basically, from my point of view, I just forget. Just to have the same experience with cancer is that I forget and then I remember and then I'm like, oh, that's right. I have cancer. And it's the same kind of ideal. So awareness
Mm.
first, acceptance real quick afterwards. Once you notice what's happening inside of you, you're like, okay, all right, I accept that. And then
Right.
what can we do about it? Which your question is, what do we do? What do we do about it? So being aware is a super helpful starting point. Awareness can make it feel better just in itself that you go, oh, I see, I understand me. I understand what I'm going through, what's happening inside of me. And it's nice to know why that's happening inside of you because I lost something, somebody, and yikes, it's messing with me. It hurts inside my system. You want to say something?
Yeah, no, it's just very interesting that the concept of forgetting, it's in one sense, is it a suppression or is it a repression of that
Yes.
kind of emotion?
Yes.
because
Yes.
because forgetting
Awareness
is
is
more, I
about
think,
what's going on.
uh-huh, right.
What's going on for you? So you were pressing it, you were regressing. What are you doing? What's going on
Yeah,
inside of you?
right.
And you go, oh, I
Yeah.
see. It's you knowing you. That's it. There's no judgment necessarily. You can judge it if you want to afterward, but first awareness is like, oh, and
Mhm.
acceptance is nice.
Yes, yes. So accepting it, and then what sort of actions, and especially I
Well,
think earlier you were also we were talking about this bit, and you were referring to if somebody feeling a loss, what kind of the stages that maybe somebody goes through?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the most famous studies about grieving is
Yeah.
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, Kubler dash Ross, and
Mm,
she did 5 levels of stages to grieving, and now they've made it up to 7. But they're basically you're shocked first. Usually, you're shocked
yeah.
first because
Right.
it just happened, and whoa. And then second is often denial, like, no, come on. I just saw him yesterday. I just talked to him the other day. Like, no,
Mm,
I have a mom. How can I not have a mom? I have a mom, right? It's denial. It's
yeah.
like, no, no, no. And so then next is like, nah, it's anger. Next is anger. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
no,
Interesting.
no, that's not right. And a lot of people met that stage. We were talking about this yesterday, you and I, about that stage messes people up because they're like, no, how could I be angry at somebody that I love that much? Is
That's
one of the
interesting.
biggest
That's
things
very
I've heard.
interesting.
It's disrespectful and it's just wrong. No, it's not okay for me to be angry. And my response is, you're not necessarily angry at them. You're angry at it. That is a love-based anger, which is bizarre. I'm angry that
Mm,
you left me. Don't leave me. I need you. I want you. I want you here. That's not cool. Go ahead.
mhm.
Yeah.
So there's sometimes some feeling of either anger to oneself, like they didn't get to say what they wanted to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah. Yep.
or
That too.
before, right? Or they're angry at the person who's deceased, like, why'd you leave me, right? And
Yep.
then so
Yep.
it's very
Yep.
interesting to think about
Why
how
is a terrible
there
question.
there's nuances to these emotions when
Yeah.
you're processing grief, you're feeling just a loss, but then there's anger, there's upset, there's maybe blaming, there's other nuances that, because let's say culturally we don't talk about these things, especially in the West. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a matter of like, okay, we remember their legacy. I'll speak here next on different cultural practices from around the world in different countries, different cultures that uh, how they have their grieving processes. But in the West, generally, it's like there's a funeral, right? Mostly a lot of Christians, and so there's a burial, and then there's an honoring and good memories, and then crying and such and such. But where are the nuanced of emotions such as like anger or frustration or regret, right? Go ahead.
Well, what I was just remembered that one of the biggest ones, well, you brought up, you can be angry at yourself, which is happens a lot. The last time I wasn't very nice to you, I shoulda, coulda, woulda done,
Yeah.
and now it's too late. All that. I'm angry at myself. I'm angry at the person for leaving or whatever, like you said. And the biggest one that I found, the one that messes with people the most, I don't know if it
Yeah.
matters to grade it, but it matters with so much, is they get mad at God. And that's,
Oh, yeah.
be careful with that one. If you get mad at the big universe, then
Mm,
that's core stuff that affects everything and everything in your life. And so, you know what I mean?
that's a
It's
big
be
one.
careful with that
Oh,
one. But
yeah.
a lot of people get mad at God. How could you take this person that was
Yeah.
a good person? Like my mom was a beautiful, wonderful, amazing person, and she's gone
Yeah.
now. And it was awful. 4 years of got worse and worse and worse. Like, why did that have to happen that way? Why did she have to
Mm,
go that way? That's not right.
yeah.
Karmically, it was awful. It just didn't work.
Mhm.
What do you think?
That's a great point. I mean, because then you're throwing the power out there, because then
Yeah,
I'm the
and it is.
victim, and then so God, the Godhead,
Yeah,
Spirit, Divinity has punished or has created circumstances where I'm now perpetually going to suffer this victimhood, right? And so when
yep.
you paint that picture, then you
Yikes.
become that which you are trying to get away from. In one sense, if you want to live a happy life, you're blaming and you're giving your power away to somebody or something, an idea or a circumstance that, yes, it was beyond your power, beyond your control. But then how can you blame it on anything? I mean, on anyone. It's a natural occurrence, right? And so death in one sense has to be more brought to conscious or public conversation. Like this is a reality, there are um ways of communicating it with the family members, right? Like one's will, right? And one who's going to be in the will and who's going to have what, when, and where with because of the distribution of assets and such. But beyond that, there's really no conversation like, how do I want to get remembered? What is the legacy I want to leave behind, right? Um, and something I want to add to this, before you continue, I was searching a little while back ago for alternatives to social media where you would have to pay for the service in some form or fashion so that um, it's so that you're actually paying for the service and you don't become the product, right? You're paying for the product. So there was this app called Transcendence or Transcend, and the CEO, the creator of the app, was very big on how do you want to be remembered, right? So all of this stuff we're putting on Facebook, right? We are becoming the product. Basically, we're getting kind of put together all our information is getting put together into some sort of digital identification, and then it's made to sell advertisements, right? And so we don't pay for Facebook as a service, and so we lose the rights to all of the stuff that we put on there basically, and forevermore Facebook can use this content
Well,
for its own purposes, right? Because we're not paying for this service. This is quote free. Well, anyways, this platform charges a certain fee a year or whatever, a month, and you own the content that you put up there. And so you can share only as much as you want to share. So if you want to share pictures or share some posts, make those public or to whom you want to make it public to. But you can also just share things that you don't want anybody else to see until you're ready. You can put like a time on it. Like I want my son when he's 15 to watch this video about how I was when I was 15, and right now he's only 3, but I want to share it in this space right now. And when he's 15, maybe this platform can share this same video that he recorded years ago, and maybe he's dead, and maybe he wouldn't have been able to say that otherwise. And so it's like how to create a legacy, right? How do you want to get remembered? So I thought that was a very cool approach towards social media. And anyways, I thought that was. I wonder if that app is still going on. I thought it was a cool situation. It didn't get a lot of traction a few years back when I got into it, but so yeah, that's very interesting. So run us through the steps a little bit. Like first we have denial or surprise, then denial perhaps, then anger or frustration, then maybe we can move into acceptance, and then and then where does the process of real grieving in your perspective as emotional intelligence teacher, how do we actually get into the process of grieving and letting out the loss, the feeling of remorse or kind of loss, and I don't know how else to put it.
the emotion of it. Yeah, I was going to say there's a logic to it. There's the IQ side, the logic to it, and there's emotion to it. And both
Yeah,
of those, you got to work with both sides of your brain. You got two sides of
interesting,
your brain,
good
and
point.
one of the big things about EQ and positive mental health is using both of them because we're
Right.
good at our logical side. And like you said, well, this is a natural part of life, and that's you got to expect that people are going to go, and that's
Yeah.
logic, right? I
Yeah.
don't give a damn about that when I'm hurting. I don't give a damn about that.
Right.
I don't
That's
care if it
true.
makes sense. I don't care if it's a circle of life. I don't like it.
Right.
It's hurting me. And so that's the pure emotion and the so there's a logical side. What do you think? What do you think about what happened? And what do you feel about what happened? Right. And so you're asking about what do you do with those? You've got to work with, I think I am suggesting strongly that you work with both sides. What are you deciding about life as a result of your pain? That's a logical side. I lost my person and I am now mad at God. And I used to be a happy, joyful, finding positive things, and now I'm bitter. I'm getting like, no, you know what? There is no point. No, there's no God. No, karma doesn't work. And big, huge negative generalizations like that, I call them
Right.
nasty negative generalizations, where you start
Mm,
changing what you think about life, which of course is going to make you feel all kinds of crappy things, right? If you
yeah.
believe some of that
Yeah.
stuff, you're in trouble, in my opinion. And I've used to be there. I try not to really hard, but then
Yeah.
sometimes also and it just friggin' hurts. It just
Yeah.
sad. I'm angry. I'm sad. Which if you don't deal with those, whether you do or not, sometimes they turn to depression, and
Yeah.
because you didn't deal with them, or because there's so many of them, or because that
Yeah.
kind of thing, it turns in depression. Depression is your body shutting down, and you can't handle this, and you go, emotions away, so you get depressed. And so you got to deal with the sadness and the anger and the depression, maybe, and emotionally, to actually feel them, to heal them, write about it,
Feel it
dance
to heal
about
it.
it, sing about it, whatever you need to do, pray about it, and
Ah,
let
yes.
yourself go. Let some of the stuff we've done in previous exercises, episodes, is about finding it in your
Mm,
body, accepting that, releasing that, replacing it with something positive, that kind of thing. So we got to deal
mm.
with the thoughts about what happened and the feelings about what happened, and then we can make some progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what I'd like to add to that is how different cultures, different societies, different religions have used ritual to
Yep,
mourn, right? To
yep,
grieve.
yep.
And so, in one sense, I feel it's important for people in the West, namely Americans, mainly the United States, on how to perform a ritual of sorts that can create some closure, right? Some feeling of like, okay, acceptance, right? There's that second phase, acceptance, and then so the action can be the ritual part, right? Which can be just as simple as something like lighting a candle on the day or for a few days or weeks or however long you feel necessary.
Work for you. Yep. Hmm.
Have pictures, have objects of that loved one uh, in some little space, kind of like an altar space, maybe of sorts, and create a ritual. And it doesn't have to be anything religious, even necessarily, but it can just be something spontaneous where where you're able to have some feeling of closure, where acceptance of the reality, right? There's the cognitive aspect of that, and then the emotive aspect of just like if you have to cry, then just allow yourself to cry, right? If you have to get angry, allow yourself to get angry. If you feel dull, if you feel closed, what would you say and help somebody who's feeling numb, for example? Well, how can
You
you
can,
express numbness?
well, two things. One is that you can, same way as the other ones, you notice it first. You
Notice
can
it.
actually, we used to do this in class for 40 years, is that one of the things we
Mm,
have people feel their feelings one at a time on purpose. Ready, go. So you start with anger, you start with, and we do sad, and we do afraid, and we do depression. And you can actually let yourself feel depressed for a minute and let yourself sink into it, like to just where you can't. What I used to watch people, and it's when their body is so
mm,
shut down that all you can see is their heart, their chest. I'd look at their heart, and they're just all you see is your heart, and it's a wild. But you can let yourself do that and feel depressed for a certain amount of time, and then pull yourself out of it. That's the key to the whole thing. Well, going into it is a key, but and then you or someone can be around. You can set a timer. You can get a phone call, or someone lets you for a few minutes and just be there and make space for you, we call it, and you let yourself feel depressed. Let yourself notice how numb you are, accept how numb you are. You can actually go there. It's wild. Because it's not a natural state, there's something there that's blocking it. There's some things either usually pushed down on your emotions or in front of where they're closed. That's been my experience when people describe them.
mm,
That it's a
mm.
wall. It's a wall. As heard that term many times. I've got this wall up. Well, it's a real
Mm,
thing that you put there, and you can go and feel that wall and work with it and remove it and make soften it or put a little window in
I
there
like
so you
that.
can at least see out or somebody can see
Right,
you in there.
right,
People get so shut
right.
down.
So yeah, yeah, creating the possibility for change, right? So just even through the acceptance stage, it's like, okay, I feel this now, but I know and I give myself the opportunity to feel something different later, right? And so I think that's part of the acceptance process. And then also, it's, as a hypnotherapist, like what we say to ourselves, like in a previous episode, right? Self-talk is so important. And so even saying to ourselves that, okay, I feel this way now and I accept it, but I don't need to feel it forever. I don't need to feel it for years, right? I'm going to feel this way for a few days, a few weeks, and then move through it. And I know that eventually I can feel good again. And so even simply saying that to yourself allows you the opportunity to actually then change something within yourself, right? So
Right.
yeah, go
Let
for
me
it, my
let
friend.
me add that you can feel grief and feel good at the same time. You can
Oh,
be
interesting.
happy, quote unquote, quote, and be grieving at the same time. I can if I lost my mom, I lost my daughter lost her cat last week, and I buried it the other day and made a little tomb.
Mm,
It was awful for her because she's
yeah.
had it for 15 years and she's grieving, but she's not quote unquote unhappy. It's weird, right? You can do that.
Mm,
You can feel a negative emotion and not be unhappy at the same time, which is pretty cool. So if you know you're doing it and you accept that you're doing it and you're just do it, you allow yourself to do that. Every once in a while
mhm.
you'll cry, but that doesn't mean you're unhappy. It means you're sad. They're different, right?
Very, very good point. I think that's a very nuanced understanding of the grieving process that it can be it can be joyful and at the same time
Yeah.
painful, right?
Yeah. It's weird, but it's true. I
Hmm,
feel
hmm.
sad every once in a while when I think of her. And okay, but that doesn't mean I'm unhappy. I'm just sad. It's a sad part of my body. It hurts. It's just a
Yeah,
sad, and I'm
yeah, yeah,
expressing my sad. And
yeah.
sad to me too is one of the most natural pure, I call it pure emotions. You're just
Mm,
sad. It's love based and it
mm,
doesn't necessarily make any sense at all. It
mm,
just is. It just hurts. And if you can allow yourself to move through that or have it be okay inside your body and then
mhm,
let it ease on through as needed, and not fight it, then
mhm.
it doesn't have to be a life changer. It doesn't have to ruin your experience.
That's it.
It really doesn't.
That's it. Right. So giving yourself a time frame to experience that is fine.
Try
Like,
it.
oh, for the next few days, few weeks, maybe a month or something that I need to feel this way. I'm gonna allow it to happen, allow it to process, and know that I can get through this and that life will move forward and I will begin to feel better as soon as I'm able to process this grief, right?
Yeah,
So,
on the time frame thing, what
mhm,
has worked for me in our
yeah.
classes, what we do, I'm talking about much shorter time frame.
Hmm,
When I feel, and it's not I'm gonna be done with it. It's just
hmm,
that right now I'm sad. I'm gonna let
hmm,
myself feel sad or depressed or whatever
hmm.
for 10 minutes. For 15 minutes, like
Mm,
really short time. I'm just going to fall into it and let myself feel, let my
good.
body feel
Okay.
whatever it needs to
A
feel.
shorter time
It can
frame.
be 1 minute if you let yourself feel it. And
Mm,
then you can, okay, all right. And your body will acknowledge you. Thank you for letting me feel that. I got it. That's
mm,
cool. You're right.
yeah.
And then I'll just kind of be cool until next time it comes up. And then I'll give myself another 5 or 10 minutes to feel it. And I don't need to say, I'm going to be over this in 30 days. I'm going to be over this because people have set themselves up and they're mad at themselves because they
Yeah.
failed because I gave myself 6 months and now here I'm still feeling it. Tough. Yeah, I mean, just it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You'll know how long it does. You may feel it the rest of your life. I'm gonna miss my mom for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure, and so I'm not
Yeah.
ever gonna be done with it. But I'm not
Interesting.
grieving. I'm gonna miss her, and I'm gonna be sad a lot of times.
Yes.
And I try to
Yes.
change it to happy when I think of her, but sometimes I can't, and so I just cry, and then I'm like, all right, that's
Mhm.
acceptance, I
That's
guess.
great. That's great. Those are really great points. It's nuanced ways that I've never really thought
Yeah.
about it. Okay. Is there anything else you
Cool.
want to share as you wrap
No.
it up before I could get to sharing with a little bit of what I thought? Think.
Yeah, I think I was doing the stages of grief, and the
Okay.
last one is acceptance, and that
Okay.
is what I was just saying is that you just,
Yeah.
yep, yep, damn it, and yeah, and
Mhm.
oh well, and life. Let this trash my life or not? Am I gonna just roll with it because it's going to happen. And as we get older, now I'm almost
Mhm.
65. As we get older, it happens more. It happens more often because our friends are older too, and it's going to happen
Yeah.
more often. So I got to get good at this. So it's one of those EQ things, except that
Mhm.
what I like it ain't always fun, but it's got to get done. It's accepting your negative emotions, accepting yourself, accepting your heart, accepting that you love, and turning it positive on purpose. I like, when I think of my mom and I get sad,
Yeah.
and then I go, you know what? That's pretty cool. I've worked hard to be able to be sad when I need to be sad. I've worked hard on
Yeah.
this. And so I
Mhm.
congratulate myself
Yes.
on my ability to be sad and to move through it and to be okay with it. And so anyway, accept, 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 accept is my point. As
Yeah.
much as you can. Because
Accept
it's
with
real.
no, how about this? Accept without exception. Nice. I like
Except
it.
without exception. Oh, that's pretty good. All right. I just thought you were going to say except without judgment, but judgment implies negative, but it does not have to be. I accept
Mm,
with judgment, but it's with positive judgment. I go, hey, that was pretty cool. Good job. I let myself cry, and then I go afterward or during, and afterward I go, "Ah, good job, dude. That was pretty good." And it's great. That's what I do. I'm weird that way, but you can do that or not. I try to find good stuff.
those are very, very nuanced ways, Matt. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and it's very nuanced ways of accepting different parts of ourselves and not negating
Yeah.
them, right? Something that I've learned in
No,
my
no, it's
transpersonal
real.
psychology is that every emotion is valid and that we want to accept them, kind of like akin to in Gestalt psychology, where you can create an internal roundtable of different aspects of yourself. There can be
Yeah.
the angry, frustrated self. There can be the lazy, inert self. There can be the crazy, spontaneous self, the joyful self, the small child self, the saboteurs,
Mm,
the critic self,
mm,
and so many different parts, and have them converse with each other. Like, what does the
mm.
silly part have to say with the angry part? And so you can have
Right.
like in this inner dialogue, this inner round
That's
table. And I feel that in itself is a creative ritual to kind of diversify and use your imagination, as I often do with my clients in hypnotherapy, is utilize the imagination to represent, symbolize different aspects of ourselves in order to have some
nice.
cooperation, some connection, right? Some conversation. Great,
Nice.
great.
Cool. I wrote down a bunch of what you were saying. That's really cool. I think
Mm.
I've noticed different parts of me, but I never had different parts of me talk to other parts of me, kind of thing. That's pretty cool.
Yes, yes,
That's a
yes, yes.
great
It
idea.
can be very, very powerful.
If you're serious and yeah, you're serious and sad and da, 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 and what would your little child say about that? Or what would your silly side say about that?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, have
that's
them talk to each other, and then
yeah, that's
we
cool.
just stand back and observe. Like, wow, okay,
Mhm.
that's what they had to say. And acceptance,
Yep.
acceptance, acceptance without exception.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Acceptance without exception. Good. 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 All
Cool.
right.
So something I'd like to share then a little bit is how different cultures um, grieve, right? And how there are different practices in different parts of the world, and how they hold different rituals and have different just nuanced ways of creating acceptance in that section of their lives. And I'll speak to Mexican culture. I come from a Latin community, Latin Mexican culture. My parents were from Mexico, and there's the practice of the Day of the Dead, right? So there's a ritual of every year going to the cemetery and putting up flowers and putting up decorations and having a remembrance of the past uh, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, children, anybody. And so the idea of celebrating lives that influence themselves, them and their family, and just it's like a part of the culture. Every year, there's a Day of the Dead around the same time within the week of when Halloween event is, right, in the West. And so there's also then I'll speak a little bit about the Japanese, and because they're a mix of Buddhist and Shinto and even secular practices. And so they also have funerals and such and ceremonies, but they're they honor the deceased contribution in their nature. And there's a lot of honor, right? So a lot of putting on the prestige of certain individuals that kind of exemplify their family structure. And in Africa, in Ghana, for example, the communities there, they grieve collectively, and they dress themselves in red or black for a certain time of or period. And there's a lot of drumming, dancing, rituals, right? And they design their coffins uh, according to the achievements that they made in their lives, right? So it's very interesting. In India, the mourning of different individuals is a blend of the spiritual and kind of even state-led ceremonies, and their idea of the circle of life, the cycle of life, samsara, and how they're cremated, right? So there's a lot of the idea of putting a body into a casket and putting it on the ground is more of a Western conception, a Abrahamic uh, Christian conception, and Mohammedans included, and the Judaic system all have this conception of needing to bury the dead and have them preserved in some senses, right? Uh, Another example in Ireland, the important figures and the roles are that they how they honor their individuals and their family also include Catholic rites. They're very Catholic, right? And so burying and such. And they do musical performances, they do poetry readings. And in Tibet, there's a very interesting rituals of sky burials, right? Where there's not a casket that's put up above ground, but the body is put on rocks and allowed for nature to take care of its course. Birds, uh, you know, dogs, or what do you call them? Wolves and coyotes to take advantage of the body there. And there's prayers by monks there, and they perform certain rites that prepare them for their traveling. And there's the idea that the deceased is lingering in their subtle body above in that region for a couple of weeks. It's called, kind of going into what's called a bardo, or this in between stage of fully letting go into the beyond space and the actual earthly plane. And so these are just some examples of how different cultures have particular ways of honoring their dead, creating ritual, right? So this is basically what I want to emphasize is that if you find yourself losing someone in your life and you're having a hard time letting go and you're kind of feeling like the victimhood, and or you had something to say to this person that you loved so much, then make it a ritual. Write a letter, make a recording, uh, make a piece of art, make something that it's remembering that their family can use to remember. Make a special date that time of the year every year to do something special and have it as a part of your family's kind of yearly celebration, let's say, or moment to grieve. or any sort of ritual that you can put together, like like I said earlier, candles and pictures and some objects of remembrance, so that it doesn't end, right, Matt? I think that was a beautiful, beautiful comment that you made, that it's not something that you're getting over with and you move beyond. You may be sad when you think about this loved one
Forever.
that you've lost, right? And so accepting
Yep.
that and knowing that that's gonna be there, and you're gonna be able to let that go as well, right? Letting that go, letting that pass through. Okay, so
Yep.
we'll start wrapping up this podcast on how the nuances, the particularities of how to process grief and mourning in different ways from different cultures, right? And how the different emotions are all valid, and we want to be able to nurture them, to express them, and to allow them space for processing, right? Right, Matt?
Ask your buddy, what do you need? What do you need from me? How can
Oh,
I help you?
that's another one. How are we holding it into our body too? Like physically, if we're
Yeah.
feeling a pain somewhere, like speak to it and then release it, like even if you feel something in your arm, let's say, and you just want to push into it, just push it out of your body, and awareness, acceptance, and action, right? Take action into expressing
And
that.
so, sometimes, yeah, sometimes release is one of the actions. That's why I say ask your body, because your body's like, I don't want this in here. Okay, then you need to release it. Sometimes you go, you know what? I'm remembering her in a wonderful way. I don't want to release it. I want to keep it. I want to. So maybe you want to keep it, maybe, and maybe you want to adjust it a little bit instead of remembering her and feeling sad. I want to remember her, and now I adjust, spin it to win it. I call it right, and adjust it to go. Well, what can I remember that was good about her? Or something loving and happy, fruitful. It's something that was more positive. So spin it more positive for yourself, and maybe
And it,
that business, like you were saying, is in your arm, rather than it causing you pain, it causes
right.
you to remember. It was a reminder, and you
Ah,
go,
nice,
oh, cool,
nice.
yeah, that's right, I did.
That's a
I
that's a
sure loved her a
great
lot, didn't I? I
that's a
sure loved
great
her a
way of
lot. That's
orienting
so
it.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I
I
love this.
sure love a
Spinning
lot. I
it,
sure get good at this.
right? Or as the term I like to use, reorienting, right? It's the
Yeah.
same energy, it's the same emotion, but then we get to choose how we see it, right? So if we see it from one side, why don't we just walk around it? We get to choose to walk
Yeah.
around it. The same object
Or,
seen at a different
yep.
angle can give us
Yep.
a different perspective, right?
Yep. And what a beautiful thing, you could walk around it, you can go above it, you can
Mm,
pull back, and so you can see that that's only a small part of you. It's not this huge thing
mm,
that feels right this moment bigger than you.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah,
It's just a thing. It's just a thing. You don't have to be unhappy. You can be sad and not unhappy at the same time. You can go all the way down into it. You can go
yeah.
into it and look around and what am I supposed to learn? What
That's it.
what was that like? What
I love
man,
that.
I loved so
I love that.
much that, or this hurt so much, and you go into it and learn from there.
Yes.
But the magic of what you were just expressing is
Yes.
with EQ, you can change your point of view. You can come out and
Yes.
in or around and this way, that way. You can. Some people
Yes.
hold it right in front of them, and
Yes.
you keep getting triggered because it's right here. You're like, well, you know what? No offense, mom, but I'm gonna move you back over here a little bit, so I can function. So I'm going to
Nice.
keep you right here, but not
Yes.
here. No
Right.
offense. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because it hurts a lot, or whatever,
Totally. Totally.
whatever.
Yes. So we
Your
can reframe
imagination
it in
and the
so
same,
many
it
ways.
costs the same, no
Exactly.
matter how you do it. Zero.
Yes. Right.
One of the
Right.
magic tricks
Exactly.
too.
Exactly. These are the
Nada.
tools, right? These are the power tools that we are
Yep.
giving examples for, and allowing our listeners, viewers, to implement, right? To give themselves the power to regain the ability to express and to sublimate, change the energy, right? Emotion, energy in motion. This is what I love saying. And so,
Mhm.
how are we dealing with that energy, and how we can put it into motion in different ways? right? We get to choose.
Yes, yes, yes. And we're in charge. We the boss. That's the
That's
biggest
right.
thing is we're in charge. All right, how am I
That's
going to
right.
handle this? The grief is not getting me. I get it. I'm in charge.
Yes.
I created it. I'm going to work with it. I can do with it. I can deal with this. It's me. It's not
Yes.
nobody
Yes.
made me this way. She didn't hurt my
That's right.
feelings. God didn't do it to me. She just lived her life and then she's done living her life. What am I going to do with
Yes.
this?
Yes.
I
Yes.
can handle it.
Right. Nobody makes me anything. Correct.
Nope,
Oh,
not
that's
nothing.
that's such an important aspect
Yep.
of taking responsibility, right? The ability
Yes.
to respond to whatever it is
Yes.
that's going on within us,
Yes.
right? Because it is only us, and it is only us who are able to change it.
You and only you. Yep. 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 It's wild, huh?
All right.
Anyway,
Yes.
Dan, this is a long one, but it's
Awesome.
good
Awesome.
stuff.
This is good stuff. Love it. All right. Thank you
Yep.
again, Matt. We will continue again with our next episode here soon, and we will sign out. And what was the saying? We were saying peace in and peace out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I told some other people about that. That's cool. Peace in and
Yeah.
peace out.
So that's gonna be
Way to
our
go.
sign
Wrong.
out. All right, my friends. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Good.
And again, peace in and peace out.
Bye. That's awesome. I love it.